Okay, let's get straight to it. So today what we're going to do is, in the end, eventually we're going to make an invitation like you see here. But the bulk of the video is I'm going to show you my technique. We're going to use the Instapressionist technique to take these photos that I cut these leaves out of photos, and we're going to create really pretty illustrated leaves like you see here without having to draw, using my shortcut, using my Instapressionist shortcut, because if I can find a way to do it easier with less effort, I am all about that life. So we're going to start with that, and then we will take a card template and turn it into an invitation like that. So let's get started with the leaves. So literally I saw these leaves and I thought they were super cool. So I cut them out and laid them out here. And we are going to use my no draw technique to turn them into beautiful illustrated leaves. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer above this, and we're using my Instapressionist brushes. And if you don't have them, you can get them on Adobe. You can get a sampler of them on Adobe Create for free. So I'll link that below. And what we're going to want to do is go over here and make sure we have our pattern stamp tool selected. If you don't see it, it might be under the clone stamp tool. And then you want to make sure aligned and impressionist is checked, and grab some of the Instapressionist brushes. And like I said, you can get a free sampler on Adobe Create, so that's cool. And what else do we need to do? So now we need to define our image as a pattern. So we go to Command, or it's probably Control M on a PC, Command M on a Mac, and click OK. Otherwise, you could go to Image, Edit, Define Pattern, same thing. And now I have this image defined as a pattern. So now I'm simply going to start, and I've got this pattern here selected. So make sure that you select that. Once you define that pattern, you have to select that as the source of our image. So I've got that selected, and I'm grabbing one of my brushes, and let's just zoom in here so you can see what's going on. And I'm painting on a new layer, but when I use this technique, it uses the image as a base and brushes on these pixels, and it's really super cool method of turning images into more impressionist kind of painting. And what's great about this technique is that you control the paintbrush strokes, so you can put them in the right direction, which sometimes if you see like filters and things, it doesn't look so real, if you use like some kind of actions or things like that. But what's great about this technique is that you can control the direction, so it's not like this and it doesn't look realistic, but you go with the flow of the thing. So I'm just playing around here and grabbing and experimenting and kind of see how it looks. But I like to kind of mix up a few different ones, and just each just play around, kind of find what works. So you can give all of them a different look. This is like a really furry kind of look, which is crazy. That moves the pixels around a little more than I want. This is like more of a dot, so you can just have like some of that, but that's cool. It looks interesting and painterly. And as you can see here, I did them all different. Each one has like slightly different effects. But what's cool is this saves so much time. We don't have to just like draw it and sample colors and all of that stuff. So super easy. But actually one last thing that I'm going to do is I will grab a brush here. Oops. Make sure we have the pattern stamp tool. I'm grabbing with a regular paintbrush here. And I'm going to like go down the middle here and kind of define that. Actually, I want something a little smoother. And then, as we have the blind brushes, or we have also the artistic ones, which kind of like disperse the pixels a little bit more crazy. But there we go. So that's good enough. We are just going to go with this for now. But you can just do every one a little bit different. But now it looks like cool and painterly, like you actually, did some painting, and we didn't have to. So we're all about that. Don't know why I keep accidentally switching to the other brush, but I'm a maniac right now. Okay, so we'll just play with that. That's cool. Give my little processor a second to catch up. All right, now we're gonna we're just gonna do one leaf, and then you can do the rest, on your own. But I'm gonna merge all of what's visible onto a new layer. So I'm gonna hit Command Option Shift and E, or Command Alt Shift and E, and that puts everything on a new layer. And I'm just gonna cut out. Or you know what? Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my gold. So I'll create a new layer above that. It's okay. I'll cut it out after I have my gold on. Let's see here. Yeah, that's cool. I'll cut it out first anyway. It's okay. We're just going to cut this one out. So what I'm going to do is find which leaf. There we go. It's this leaf here. And I'm going to select this layer, Command or Control, and click on the layer to select this. And then what I will do is I will grab that layer that I have everything merged. I'm going to hit Command Shift and J to cut that onto a new layer. All right, we have liftoff. Command Shift and J puts that on a new layer, or you could cut and paste it on a new layer. So you can, let me undo that. You can simply have that selection going, select this layer and cut it, and then make a new layer and paste it. But either way, now we kind of have our base thing. So I'm just going to group all these and hide these. And we're going to focus on this little boy that we're working on here, this little leaf. So let's zoom in here. But now we need to add some flavor. So we need to add a little gold, and we need to put some edges around it, and it's going to make it look really cool. So for that, we are going to my new brushwork brushes that are my new basics, my new favorite brushes. They are they're not color changing. They're just simple one color brushes, but I created them because I found that I wasn't getting exactly what I wanted with the default Photoshop kind of brushes. So I created my own, and they have a lot of texture and really cool. And let me just I'm gonna select a color here, give you a little preview of that. So the flow, the texture, and the size are all controlled by the pen pressure. So you can get tons of really cool brush strokes out of the same brush. And they're my new favorite essentials. So we're going to do something like this and put some really cool textural brush strokes around these. So I'll just take my sampler tool and sample from a green from inside here. That's kind of a medium green. I'm happy with that. Let's select my brush tool. And you know what? I'm going to bust out my little brush cheat sheet here. I created a cheat sheet of these brushes. Hold on one second. Brushwork. And so I can see which brush I want to use. So I think I will go with a 15. It's got a pretty cool texture on it. So let's go over here and grab brush 15, and I've got that green going, so that's fine. And I'm just gonna lightly go around this and add this really, ooh, that's too much, like a cool textural stroke like that. So pretty good. And then let's layer it with a lighter texture on top. So I'm gonna change my color to a lighter green. And let's see what other brush we want to put on top of it. We can put, let's go with 14. It's close. So brush number 14. And let's find our right document. And I'll create a new layer because I like to that's cool. So, and add some, yeah. Add some brush strokes on top of it. Oh, my processor is getting a little bit bogged down here. It's so time for a computer upgrade. I can't even tell you. All right, let's turn that layer back on. I'm going to cut off this part here and just play with that. I kind of want just a light touch here, but it's going a little bit slow. And then I'll just grab like a different brush, and I'm just adding new layers on top, and I want to put like a streak down the middle of that light color. I think it looks really cool. So we'll add those really cool strokes. And now we want to add a little bit, and that adds like the direction, the movement, and all that. Is not quite as good as these ones because my processor is a little bit slow on this computer right now, so it's being a little sticky. So now I've got that going, and now I want to create a new layer, and now we're going to add our gold touches. And I'll just add one of my 24 karat gold layer styles, and you can add whichever one you want. I'll put 1A. And what's nice about this is if we, utilize some of this brush texture, you can add really nice light gold kind of effects. So we're going to go with something like brush 18. So let's pop over here. Oh yeah, I'm on brush 18. All right. Let's zoom in a little bit more so we can get a little close. And this, I'm just using my regular brush. And I'm going to just make this bigger so you can see, but it's cool because you can put really light or to strong, but you can get that really cool like light texture that I love, like just a little touch. So I'm going to take that down and just add a little bit of gold touches to this leaf like that. Little directional strokes, add some little gold highlights. That is quite pretty, and I am feeling that. So we've got these little light gold accents, which I just think look really cool. And this looks like painterly, and it looks like you could have painted this, but really we kind of faked it, but that's what makes it fun. So I am happy with said leaf. It looks close enough to the ones that I did, and you can just play around. Some of them I just added little streaks, some I added more, but that's kind of what you're going for. So we've got something similar, and then what you can do is just grab all your layers of this leaf. Now you have a group, auto slide group. So you can save that, back it up. Usually I keep that just set to the side, and then I'm going to option duplicate my group, like by dragging it. Merge that group, and now we have our graphic, and you're good to go. You can right click on this, convert that to a smart object. So you move it around, whatever, that, you shrink it down, you can always keep its shape. So now we have our leaves. So let us pretend that these are the leaves here. And now to create this thing, I'll show you some of the stuff that I did to create this thing. So actually, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I am duplicating these leaves that I've already laid out here because I do not want to make this super long. I'm going to duplicate these layers of the leaves that I've laid out onto my card base. And if you're on my Patreon, you can download this card base on my Patreon. And so one thing that I also like to do, this is a 5x7 card. I like to use a little cover my borders, so I make this like 6x8, but this really helps me to see where the card ends, because even if I'm using like I have a bleed obviously going on, but even if I use guides, I still my brain comprehends this sort of area, and I subconsciously design this with like this border on it. And so if I put something like that over it, it really helps me to like block out exactly where the card is, because I find myself creating something and I see this negative space around it and I'm like, that looks nice, but then I crop it and I'm like, not as nice. So that just kind of helps keep my eye going there. So I've got the text here, so this isn't a really text tutorial, so we're just gonna work around that. And then the next thing we want to do is to create these like really beautiful brushstroke borders. And these are also using my brushwork brushes. So what I did was I created a shape, a rectangle shape, and I'm just gonna option click it or command click it to like select it so you can see the shape here. And this is kind of where I went to put the leaves around for the border, but I want to feel that border without being like a super strong border. So above this rectangle, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going over here to my regular brush, and let's just get like kind of a not so bright green. Select it from our leaves over here. That's good. And we are going to grab, I'll just stick with 18. Let's see which brushwork brush I want. 18 is pretty cool. So, you know, we'll just keep it easy. Let's stick with that. And I am going to just, I want to keep these brush strokes straight, so I'm holding down the shift key when I paint. And I'm using a very light touch and going like right around the border. So how did I have that here? Yeah, no, you can see the whole border. Okay, so I'm making this like big. And I've got to upgrade my machine. Let's undo that. That's a little bit heavy. So I'm trying to keep a really light touch with this. And that's fine. I can always take down the opacity. So I'm going to shift, draw this. That shift is kind of slowing me down there. And let's go down like this to create those cool kind of lines. All right. We're going to deselect that. And now this is a little bit too bright for me, so I'm going to take this down a little bit. That's good. Create a new layer, and now I'm going to select, like with my eyedropper tool, a lighter green. And then let's go grab, let's see what brush we want. I want one with like a really cool texture. 6 is pretty cool. So, got our card base. Let's reselect that rectangle. I'm using Command and clicking on the rectangle to select it. There we go. We're on a new layer, and I think I will bring that size up a little bit. And just gonna lightly, oh, there we go. Lightly paint some really cool textural strokes here. And just add some of that cool texture. There we go. Good enough. We're fine there. So I like that. We're looking more like our card. Let's just move it over here closer so we can compare. But as you can see, this is when I wasn't doing a recording, so you can, with these brushes, you can get this cool, really awesome directional texture here. And so I love these brushes. They're gorgeous. And you can get those really nice tapered edges as well. So we have the base, and now we have a little bit of gold here. So for that, we are going to make a new layer. We are going to go and grab some 24 karat gold brushes. So I will link to these below. This is my 24 karat gold magic brushes, and let me just see. That's kind of cool. I'm just going to use the default, what's here, 17 is pretty cool. Okay, so these brushes are already loaded. I've got a whole playlist on these brushes if you are not familiar with them, but we're just going to grab brush number 17 because it's good to go. And just remember, you're going to have to get your sampler sheet, the gold sampler sheet, if you decide to change the brush size, but I will leave it as it is probably. So I'm going to select, make that selection again from that rectangle, Command or Control, and click on it. I've got a new layer, and I'm just going to slightly draw some gold on the edges here and add a little bit of gold accent. And I think I'll add a little bit underneath the leaves like I did on that other one behind them. And that looks cool. Good enough. That is my new motto, good enough. So now we've got our cool gold accents. And by selecting that, I like how they hold the feel of that frame. And it's not just all a big block, it's a little delicate. So I am feeling that, and we are almost done. Oh, one thing I did add on these leaves is I added a little bit of a shadow on the ones that crossed over. So I'm going to select like this one here because it's going to be behind that. Create a new layer above it. I will grab one of my regular brush tool. I'm going to grab one of my brushwork brushes, like brush number 2 is okay, or 7. Doesn't matter. I'm going to grab like kind of a dark green color, like the background. And there we go. I'm going to brush on a little bit of a drop shadow like that. And I like it because it's textural, but I'll change the blend mode to multiply and then take the opacity down. But I kind of want to like have a little shadow, but not like using a drop shadow so much. There we go. That's okay. Close enough, but we'll take that down a little bit. So we add a little drop shadow. Same thing here. Oops. Let's undo that. I'm just going to select this layer, create a new layer over it. I still have my brush. Let's change that to multiply. And I'll add a little bit of a stroke in the dark green. And okay, good enough. And then let's take the opacity way down so we kind of feel a little bit of a shadow there. So like there and there. It's okay. Good enough. You get the idea. Perfect it at your leisure. And what do we do now? All right, now we're going to do the sides. So I'm going to take off these gold ones. And I just have a little bit of these, what are they? These are brushes that I made. And they are, what are they called? We will find them. Spring Botanicals. So, and they have a little color jitter. So I'm going to select like a mid-range green. Okay, and then I will just grab one of these crazy brushes. And I'm using like the regular brush tool actually for this. So let's find one that looks cool. Okay, let's go over to our thing here. How many do I have? 2? Okay. So now underneath the leaves, let's create a new layer. And I'm just going, that looks okay. Yeah. So I just make a couple strokes, and it's got a slight jitter to it by default. So it's kind of adds a little depth. And I'll just select another green for the other side and go like that. And I got it kind of a cool, it adds that kind of a lush layered sort of thing. And what I think I'll do is I'll take the opacity down a little bit of that. And now I will add a new layer on top of that. I'm going to apply my gold one, like one of my 24 karat gold layer styles. And then, let's see how I did it here. Yeah, and so then I'm just going to go over this. I can change my brush stroke so I kind of spice it up a little bit. I'll grab the brush number 37. And I'll link to all these below, but you can always use your own as well. Ooh, that's a little sharp. Okay, we don't need to see that right now. I'll try 32. And I just kind of want to add like a little gold accent. It's a little too small. Oops, still too big. These are pressure sensitive, so I'm not loving this one. Okay, try not to be too picky here, but I like it to look like I like. Okay, so we'll just add a little accent. I'm going up there. Dear Lord. Okay, close enough. And oops, undo. I hate when the strokes kind of come down or do that connection. Okay, good enough. You get the idea. Actually, I should go like a little off center so you can see the brush stroke underneath it. All right, good enough. So then we got a little gold on the side. And now we've got all this like depth. And let's see, look at this one too. Looks pretty cool. This one I like a little bit better because I spent a little more time on it. But we're all about using Photoshop brushes to make it easier, faster, and that didn't take that long. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial, something different. And this is kind of more how I work in real life because a lot of times I'm doing demos using to demonstrate a specific brush set, but most of the time I use a lot of combination. But for me, the best thing is Photoshop brushes are awesome for illustration and awesome for getting things done quicker and faster with less work because we could sit there and paint every little thing and stuff, but I want to have fun and get it done faster. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll link to the stuff below that that I talked about or the products that I used, and then also if you are on my Patreon, you can download the card template and even the starter templates and the leaves that I illustrated. So you can use them in your own designs. Even commercial use is fine. So that's one of my Patreon bonuses. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you have a suggestion for a tutorial or you want to see something, just let me know. And